Have you ever noticed that your email can automatically detect spam for you? Or that your phone can sometimes detect messages that it considers junk? With millions of messages being sent every second, not every message can possibly be important. So how do we sort out the messages that are spam? We can do that with NLP, or natural language processing. In this project, we will be processing emails and teaching a machine learning model to identify whether those emails are spam or not. First, let's set up the project environment. You can find this page linked in the description. From here, you want to scroll down to here where it says setting up the project environment and download the spam classification IPYNB file and the spam data.csv file. Then you want to go to your My Drive, create a folder called spam_filter, and upload both the IP1B file and the CSV file. Then to open Notebook, you can just double click on it here. Before we get started on the project, we'll first go over Google Colab and how to use it. Google Colab is a platform where you can write, run, and share code. To run a code block, you can click on this play button here. You can also run the code block by clicking on it and then holding Control Enter or Command Enter if you're on a MacBook. You can add a code block by clicking on this button on the top left over here, and you can delete it by clicking on this trash icon over here. Now, let's get started with the project. First, we'll start with importing libraries. We do this so that we can use functions that other smart people have already created. Then, we'll download these NLTK resources. NLTK stands for Natural Language Toolkit, and it's a powerful library for NLP. Because NLTK has a large number of datasets and models, including all of them would make the library unnecessarily bulky. And that's the reason we'll be downloading some of the resources here, despite importing NLTK up here. Now, we'll load the data that we uploaded earlier into the notebook. To mount the Google Drive and make the files on your Google Drive available to use in this notebook, run this code block. Then, you can see the data by running this code block. We can see the category here, which is whether the email is spam or not spam, with 1 being spam and 0 being not spam. We can see the email itself and then the file name. Before we pre-process the entire dataset, we'll first go over the basics of NLP processing techniques. We'll be testing the different processing techniques on this test message here. Feel free to change this sentence if you'd like. You can see that I put a lot of elements that might make this look like a junk message, such as weird formatting and improper grammar. The first step we'll be doing in processing this message is tokenizing, and all you have to do is run this code block. Tokenization is the process of breaking down text into smaller units, which can be words, but we can see here www is not a word, but it was also separated into its own token. We can see our list of tokens here, and we can also see that our tokenizer took out things like commas and angled brackets. Typically, punctuation like periods, commas, and apostrophes are not that important to deriving the overall meaning of a message, which is why our tokenizer takes out those things. Now we can move on to the next step. Using our tokens from before, we'll now lowercase all of the tokens by running this code block. And now we can see all of the tokens here are the lowercase versions of these. The next step is lemmatizing our tokens. Lemmatization is the process of reducing a word to its base or dictionary form, called a lemma. If you want to test lemmatization on different words, you can copy and paste this part into a new code block. And instead of the text sentence we used earlier, we can replace that with any word we'd want. So let's see what running turns into. And we can see that running turns into its base form, run. We can change this word to better and see that that turns into well. The reason better turns into well, even though they sound very different from each other, is because their dictionary base is the same. Now, you might wonder why over here, messily did not turn into mess. And that's because messily is an adverb and mess is a noun. For example, if we turn this into messily, it just turns into messily. Or if we turn this into messed, which is a verb, it'll turn into mess, which is also a verb. Or if we turn this word into messes, which is a noun, it'll turn the word back into mess, which is also a noun. As you can see, the part of speech of the word will affect how it becomes lemmatized. Now, you might be curious about the words that are commonly used but do not really add meaning to text. Examples of such words include the, and is. Those are called stop words, and we can see a list of English stop words if we run this code block here. Here you can scroll through all of the English stop words if you'd like. You can collapse this list by clicking here and selecting show/hide output. These are the words we'll be removing from our input to prevent our model from becoming overly complex. We also have some HTML tokens that I have defined here. And we'll also be removing these tokens because modern email clients such as Gmail and Outlook often use HTML to format their emails. Make sure to run this code block. This next code block will clear the HTML tags and stop words from our test message earlier. We can see that it got rid of quite a few tokens, including @ and HTML. Now that we understand the different NLP techniques for processing text, we'll define a function that will use all of these techniques at once. We can see in this function, we'll turn a message into tokens, and then lowercase all those tokens, and then lemmatize them, and then remove the stop words, and then return those tokens as a list. And if we run this code block and use this function on the message we used earlier, we can see we get the same tokens. Now we'll check out the most common tokens in non-spam emails first. If we run this code block, we can see here that this is the number of unique tokens in non-spam emails. Then if you run the next code block, it will sort the tokens from the ones that appeared the most to the least. Take a look at these tokens and see what words are common for non-spam emails. And if you'd like, you can also collapse this by clicking this button and clicking show hide output. If you run this next code block, it will display a histogram of the top 50 most common tokens in non-spam emails. Now we'll go on to see the most common tokens in spam emails. Again, we'll run this code block to count the total number of unique tokens in spam emails. And now we can see here there are 69,145 unique tokens in spam emails. Again, we'll sort it from the tokens that appear the most to the least. And again, we'll create a histogram with the top 50 most common tokens in spam emails. And a quick tip here, if you want to see the next 50 most common tokens, you can go up here and then change this to 50:100. And this one as well, 50:100. And then run the code block again. And if it looks like these tokens appear more frequently than the last graph, just pay attention to this y-axis over here. It goes up to a much smaller number than the previous graph. For now, let's put this back to the top 50 by going here, :50. Now we'll decide which tokens we want our machine learning model to keep track of. When choosing your tokens, pay attention to the tokens that are common between the spam emails and the non-spam emails. We can see the first few, HTTP and COM, it shares in common with the spam emails as well. So maybe those are not very good tokens to keep track of. For more tips on which tokens to pick for spam emails, check out the project instructions linked in the description below. When you add the tokens, make sure to surround them either by single quotes or double quotes. For example, I will start with Helvetica. So those are single quotes, or you can also use double quotes. So I'll also put in email. You can put as many or as few tokens as you would like, but just note that if you put a lot of tokens, then your model will become more complicated. Often, overly complicated models tend to overfit on the data, so just keep that in mind when selecting how many tokens you would like to count. For now, I'll select 10 random ones from this top 50 most common tokens in spam emails. But remember that you are not limited to just the top 50 most common tokens. You can also look through the next 50 and the next 50 and the next 50. Also remember that instead of using the graph, you can also scroll through the sorted tokens here. And then make sure to run this code block. Then we'll turn each token into an index by running this code block here. We can now see that Helvetica is mapped to 0, email is mapped to 1, and so on. And the reason we do this is because machine learning models learn better with numbers than words. Now, we'll define a function that will count the number of tokens that we have defined in a given message using a count vector. If we run this code block here, we can see for this sentence here, the count vector looks like this. And it looks like we have a count in the second position, the fourth position, and the last position. That is because in this sentence we can see the word click, which I defined as one of my spam tokens, and that is in the fourth position. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sure enough, there it is. I also defined free as part of my spam tokens list too, and here we see free is in the second position, 0, 1, 2, there it is, as well as GIF, which is in the ninth position or the last position, and sure enough, there it is. You can change the sentence if you'd like. For example, I'll add in the word Helvetica on purpose to see how it affects the count vector, Helvetica, and then run it again. And we can see that it is now counted in the 0th position, which is where it is on our token to index mapping. Now we'll split our data into train and test by running this code block here. We can see that there are 4,636 emails in our train dataset and 1,160 emails in our test dataset. We can view the count vector for one of the emails in our train dataset by running this code block here. And we can see that none of the spam tokens that we chose earlier were counted. So I'm guessing this email is not spam. And we can check that by running the next code block here. We can see that this email is indeed not spam because its category is 0. Remember that 0 corresponds to non-spam email and 1 corresponds to spam emails. You can also view the message by running the next code block here. We can view another email by changing this index here, and I'll change it to 13, and then run this code block. We can see this time we do have some counts of the spam tokens that we defined earlier. We can see that there are 4 counts of the token that's in the 0 first position. So we can go back to here where we have the token to index mapping, and we see the first position corresponds to email. So email, the word email was used in this email 4 times. Since there are some counts of the spam tokens that we defined earlier, I'm going to guess that this email is a spam email. And we can check that by running this code block again, and it is indeed spam since the category this time is 1. And again, the next code block, you can read the email if you'd like. For this index value, you can change it to any number between 0 and 4,635 since there are 4,636 samples in our train dataset. As you can see, this is how the machine learning model will view each email to determine whether it is spam or not. Now we'll convert all of our emails into numerical data that looks something like this. We'll define this function df to xy to turn all of our emails into count vectors. And then in the next code block, we'll use this function on all of the data. Again, don't worry if this takes a bit to run. Now we can see that the shape of our datasets have changed slightly from the first time we split it. We can see that the number of rows has stayed the same, except the number of features has changed to 10 because that was the number of spam tokens I chose earlier. And if we want to see what xtrain now looks like, we can make a new code block, type in xtrain, and then run it. We can now see that each row in the data frame has its own count vector. And then we can also view what ytrain looks like by typing in ytrain, running it. And we can see that ytrain has the labels 0 and 1 to see if the corresponding email is spam or not spam. Next, we'll scale our data so that all of our values are between 0 and 1. To learn about why we have to scale our data, check out the project page in the description. As we can see here, all of our values are now between 0 and 1. Now we'll be training 2 different models. We'll be training a logistic regression model and a random forest classifier. but feel free to use other models if you'd like. If we run these two code blocks, we can see the classification reports for both of the models. You can check out the project page to learn more about these different metrics, but for now, let's focus on accuracy. We can see that we have about a 79% accuracy for our logistic regression model and an 89% accuracy for our random forest model. We can see that our random forest model did a little bit better than our logistic regression model. But do you think 89% is good enough? It might not be a huge deal if spam mail was mistaken for real mail, but what if it was the other way around? What if your important emails was mistaken for spam? So maybe 89% is good enough if the remaining 11% were spam mails mistaken for real mails. But if it's the other way around, we might have to reevaluate. The other metrics here can help you decide if this is a good model or not. Otherwise, you can try improving your model. You can go back to code block 2n, where we defined the spam tokens. You can try adding more tokens, deleting some tokens, changing some tokens to see if you can get a higher accuracy. And with that, we reached the end of this coding tutorial. Remember that you can find written instructions as well as this notebook on the project page linked on the description below. And for our 1,000 other projects for all areas of science and engineering, visit our website www.sciencebuddies.org.